readings. Matthew, the first one is going to be from the Bible by Matthew 18:18. I assure you, whatever you bind on earth is already bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth is already loosed in heaven. Again, I assure you, if two of you agree on earth about any matter that you pray for, it will be done for you by my Father in heaven. For where two or three are gathered together in my name, I am there among you. The next it's from Heng Jin Moon, 1st of January 2002, special message. If people on earth do not clear up these sins through paying the required indemnity, the suffering is passed down to their children. Later, when these people come to the spiritual world and watch their children suffer, they regret that they did not clear these things up for them. They lament, if only I had borne my suffering on earth, my children would not need to suffer now. The next reading is from Demonim. If, however, blessed families live by absolute faith, absolute love, and absolute obedience towards true parents, their spirit selves will grow to perfection. A perfect spirit self is called a divine spirit and emits strong light. The spirit selves of blessed family members should be radiating fragrance and light. Since absolutely good spirits who are blessed shine very brightly, evil spirits cannot come near them. But mediocre good spirits and middle-level spirits can come under the control of evil spirits and Satan and can be contaminated by evil spirits because their lights are dim or non-existent. Preventing evil spirits from adhering to us is another reason why we should live by absolute faith, absolute love, and absolute obedience. From True Father, February 98. All second generation, without exception, must attend the 40-day workshop in order to have spiritual experiences. Those who are confused about their identity on the path they should take have to come and stay at least 120 days in Cheonbo, even if they have to quit their jobs or miss school. Otherwise, they should not get blessed. This rise for True Parents Declaration. True Parents Declaration.
These are my true parents, the eternal King and Queen of Peace, and Liberator of our heart. They have saved me from my past, they have blessed my future, and they give me true love, forgiveness, and happiness today, and I choose to receive them. My mind is awake, my heart is open wide, and from this moment I change forever. In my name, Amen.
Now please welcome our Brother John to give our sermon, The Value of Cheonbo.
Today I'm talking about the Cheonbo providence, and it's like one of our specialities in our Unification Church is Cheonpyeong or Cheonbo. Not everybody understands it, or not everybody participates, but if you participate, it's very uplifting, and it's I can only say that it's a very grace-filled event for people who participate. So I think, particularly myself, I'm thinking that if you even don't fully understand that providence, that if you participate, you gain a lot of merit anyway. Like I saw the Chanyang team, they're participating there. They don't maybe fully understand what's going on, like we all don't, but we participate. But that kind of energy created, that kind of unity, where more than two people are gathered together praying, is going to create that kind of Holy Spirit coming to us. So most people have some experience of the Holy Spirit during those kinds of sessions of Chanyang and the Yoksa Chanyang, and all kinds of aspects to it. So I don't go into all the details really, because you'll have to study it in detail, and there are some obviously good books for example, I can recommend. One is Cheonpyeong and Blessed Families, which is a very comprehensive book. I have an extra copy for anybody who wants it. Happen to have a few myself. But that way you get a holistic view of the providence of Cheonpyeong. So after I speak, Halvard has something to share as well, so that you can get the whole view of it. Some people worry about it because it's about donations and all of that aspect. But I never think about it like in that context, because I think it's like an amazing grace. Like I don't see it like that. It's a money thing, or it's one of or one of our things we do. But I think if you change your mind and you looked at it much more positively, you would see it's tremendously beneficial and it's tremendously graceful. So I just wanted to say that really, because I know that people have many different viewpoints about these things, and I think I take my understanding also from the Bible verse, like in which we read there about whatever you bind on earth is bound in heaven, whatever you loose on earth is loosed in heaven. So everything does start on the earth. It's based on ourselves, our good actions, and how we do that. Um, but as we know also, we have so many complicated situations and complicated scenarios in our families, in our lineage. So we have to resolve that initially, as I understood it. And God and true parents taught blessed families would live with this kind of absolute faith, absolute love, absolute obedience, and then your spirit would shine very brightly. All our spirits would be emitting like divine light. And if you had a very high spirit, then we wouldn't be attracted or being influenced by lower level spirits. But that's one of the things that was missing. And I remember reading about Debenham. Debenham said, well, somebody should have prepared that foundation for the blessed families. Like we should have come on that foundation. Some John the Baptist figure should have really cleansed all our sins and made us repent deeply, but it didn't really happen. So most of all, we came and we were blessed and we weren't qualified. So that's the truth of it, is most of us, if not all of us, were not really qualified. And True Father often said that, even to first generation. So if we're not qualified, also our second generation are affected by this lack of accomplishment or lack of results or lack of spiritual maturity in the first generation. So they inherit everything, and they inherit the good, but they also inherit the bad things. And so as it says also, and True Mother has said that too, that first gen should clear up everything so that there's nothing bad will go on to the next generation. She said, fulfill all the indemnity. And she has that attitude herself. She has that attitude to clear it up in her own generation. She says that, it has to be cleaned up. So don't leave it for your children. But that unfortunately we could not do it. And even True Mother knows that first gen are very faithful, very pioneering people, very strong-willed, special people, but they haven't been able to make the environment, not only for Chonil Guk, not only for the second generation, for the blessed children. We've not been able to create the environment. So our blessed children suffer in many ways, and so you can see that. So that was one of the things that I went to the Cheonbo workshop. That was something that was bothering me myself, because it's a kind of like underlying search or looking for answers to the questions, which I don't have fully the answers yet. And it is to do with the reality of blessed children, the reality of second gen, the reality, not all second gen, but my own family, very close to my home, because I had two blessed children who have gone through. No, they're not the same, let's say, but still, from God's viewpoint, my son, you all know, I don't talk about it. You all know he dropped out of school. He dropped out of everything. You know what I mean? For the last 5 to 6 years. So I've been living with this daily, that kind of frustration even, and trying to understand what is my attitude. How should I view this young boy, almost a man, or is a man now? And I couldn't figure it out, honestly speaking. I was very just impatient, and I don't express that like verbally so much, but I do have it in my heart, this kind of feeling, what the heck? is he doing with his life, you know? The feeling is that you can't even say anything. You know, you don't have a foundation to say, well, do this or do that, and all of that. It's almost like, you know, like you're just somebody's there and he's doing his thing, and there's no real give and take. And that's the hardest part. There's no real give and take. Now, I just wanted to say that I'm not going to go into all of the detail because I don't have the answer. So one answer, I got a partial answer in Cheonbo at the workshop, which was, I actually found it from Reverend Moon's testimony, which he gave about his life and growing up as a elder second gen in Korea. And he said that when he was a teenager or sometime in that age, he started to struggle very much, and he didn't know who he was. His parents were very devout, they were doing very much public mission. And so he struggled, and he didn't want anything really to do with the church as such. So he didn't actually say explicitly what he really struggled with, so unless somebody else was there and knows but whatever it was a deep struggle. And one of the things he did say was that after he came to realize something, he said one thing he appreciated about his parents was that they gave him space to grow. They didn't like, they didn't say, where the heck are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing wrong? They gave him a lot of freedom to find out, like a space to grow. It means you kind of have to back off a bit, but you have to love the person. He could feel their love, but it wasn't in his face, that kind of feeling. He knew that they were offering prayer or jungsung for him. And anyway, he was explaining this, but it was the way he was speaking and the way he communicated this kind of heart that I felt a lot, that I could feel like the value of a second generation. The value of a blessed child, the potential that they have is very great, but it's often hidden because of accumulation of sin or evil spirits, or whatever it is that's holding people back. But he said something else which touched me, was that he said, well, second generation, blessed children are more sensitive than the first generation. So they're more spiritually open. They're more attractive to the lower spirit realms. So the evil spirits are more going to go to them. So they don't even know that, but that's what's happening. So they don't often do anything about it. They often end up in a kind of like a midway position, second generation. They just like, they don't know what's going on. So of course, if they wake up and they decide themselves, oh, I can do something about this, I can go to Cheonbo, I can go to a 40 days even, or as True Father would say, then they would do something about it. But oftentimes they're like in this kind of like in a midway position. I don't know how to express it, but it's that kind of a malaise. And I know that was something that came to me, that, oh, I really need to change my way of looking at anybody, all second generation, because some of the second gen, as you know yourself, blessed children, some are very talented, some are very hardworking, very, they're really bright and talented and so forth. They're working very hard to achieve their goals, their dreams, while we see others are struggling in so many ways. But you still have to see that each second gen blessed child is a fruit of the providence, is a precious gift from God. But we have our responsibility, which is to create a foundation. One of the things I do regret myself is not having spiritual children, or not really feeling that I invested enough in spiritual children before the blessing, even I know it's still unfulfilled in so many ways. So I'm kind of more serious about that, in a sense, because we're having a grandchild quite soon. Now, well, you already know that, but that's one of the things I've reflected about. Another point I'd like to mention was I found a partial answer to who are the second generation, who are blessed children, by reading Yuichi Otoma, a clinical psychologist from Japan. He has written and he has counseled second generation for many years. So I don't know how he is now, whether his health is gone or maybe there's a lot of stuff in Japanese, but it kind of it gave me kind of insight. I read his articles, and there's only a few in English. One is called The Value of Blessed Children. The other one is The Identity of Second Generation. And there's a few others, but it's in English. But still, you'd have to read it quite a few times to try to figure out what is he trying to say. And basically, one of the things he was saying was he was trying to explain the difference between first generation and second generation. How the first generation, we come through the truth, through the divine principle, the lectures. That's what's brought us. Your children are born into the faith. They don't come like that way. So their relationship with the truth, with God even, is different to ourselves, because we think, oh, they should be so interested in the truth. They should be interested in divine principle, but they're not in the same way. So sometimes we misunderstand that. And he said that he was given many examples, and he was saying, oh, was one situation where a blessed child had a girlfriend and had left the church basically, and said he had no interest in. And then the father said to him, okay, you can do what you want. He was a church leader, and he said, well, but first you should study divine principle and so forth, and then make a decision. So he said, yeah, I'll do that. And I think the father himself taught him. And after he'd finished, he said, now you understand, don't you? He said, now can I do what I want? He said, no. Like, he didn't understand anything. So what Reverend Yuichi Otoma said, what you have to do is make a relationship. He said, in this case, if there's already problems with the second blessed child, the only thing that's going to work is you have to make a natural relationship with them, which means go out together, do something together, enjoy time together, communicate heart to heart. Even if there isn't such great communication at the start, do it like that. And then, of course, he said, at some point, everybody needs to know what actually is divine principle, what is the blessing about. But anyway, it gave me kind of insights through that as well, that I have to figure that out. And that was another very important kind of understanding for me as well. Other than that, that was the main experience at the Cheonbo. Of course, that's why I do go to the Cheonbo, because I really believe it has certain tremendous value and blessing for us, because we liberate ancestors, we're blessing ancestors. Need to take it on to a new level, really, in that sense. Also, just wanted to mention about living like, as True Father said, or Demonham was saying, living with absolute faith, absolute love, absolute obedience. Sometimes we think this is to do with the fallen kind of world. We have to be absolute and absolute faith, absolute love, absolute obedience. But I know Father often said this in the past, that you should live like that. But its meaning might be slightly different if we just think about it. And I was thinking about that one day. I was walking on the beach and I was thinking, what does it really mean? And I thought then it's more like this is like an original principle even, that to have absolute faith in God, absolute love, absolute obedience. It's more like the practice of true love. It's being like that kind of a person who is living with God, in attendance to God, is absolute. But when Father says be absolute, he means don't be changing all the time. Don't be vacillating. Don't be going this and that. Don't be swaying with the wind. Practice living for the sake of others, all of that. And that's being absolute in that sense. And so it's very difficult for us to continuously steadfastly go that way, to practice that kind of lifestyle. So we tend to sway, and things go up and down. So we lose this relationship with heavenly parents and true parents. I want to give Albert a chance, but I just want to finish with a reading here. It's from my book on Heavenly Tribal Hunduk readings, and it's kind of an interesting insight into that as well. What do we mean by absolute faith, absolute love, and absolute obedience? What does absolute faith mean? It means outstanding in a self-centered position. In other words, it refers to the life of high noon vertical alignment. Vertical alignment signifies the time at 12 o'clock sharp, when the sun that rose from the east shines down on the earth at an exact right angle to the planet's axis. At that moment, all things are affected 100% by the light of the sun. That moment, as seen in a clock, is the moment when the second hand, the minute hand, and the hour hand are all aligned at the 12 o'clock direction, at an exact right angle with the horizon. At that moment in time, because everything falls 100% under the light of the sun, there are no shadows. In short, the state of being aligned with 100% with Heavenly Parent's influence, with not one whit of the self involved, is called vertical alignment. And the place where this takes place is called the position of absolute faith. Absolute love comes next. Absolute love refers to placing the object partner at the center and investing everything into him or her and giving love for his or her sake. True love does not begin from you as its motive, rather it begins an expression of your heart, desire to live for the sake of an object partner. The third is a position of absolute obedience. Absolute obedience is a term used in the world of perfection. In the world of perfection, the world of true love, your partner engages with you to help you in the process of reaching perfection. Interaction in the perfect world happens with this intent. In this context, absolute obedience to your partner, that's where that comes in, means being fully receptive to your partner so that you may accomplish the process of your growth towards perfection. According, your position is perfected when you obey your partner. And absolute obedience can also be expressed as a position of absolute positivity, which was a kind of a new way of looking at it for me, absolute positivity. Heavenly Parent is a being who possesses only absolute positivity. And that's why Heavenly Parent has been able to continue his work for human salvation for 6,000 years. So, finish with this. To sum up, absolute faith, absolute love, and absolute obedience can be said to refer to the state of complete oneness in which you attend Heavenly Parent as at your center. And you don't assert yourself, you walk the path of living for the sake of your partner and live a life of absolute positivity, which is an attribute of Heavenly Parent. I was watching tennis there over the week, and I was thinking about, what is this kind of attendance, and you watch it in the games, and you see the ball boys and the ball girls, and they stand behind. They're always attentive to the players, so they can't be thinking about anything else. So they're totally focused, and they have to throw the balls back, and they have to run quickly when it's the right moment. They always have to be ready with the towel for the player. I was thinking that's kind of absolute in a sense, because they can't space out, because they have to be fully involved in the game. And while the game is going on, you never see any of these young people who are there looking at their phones or doing anything else. So it's total attention. I thought that's kind of like a symbol of attentiveness to the player as their, as the person that. But we could be like that towards God or towards true parents. We do it sometimes, but we don't do it always, or we don't do it with absolute, because it's very tough to do it with absolute attention or faith, love, and obedience. But I was learning so much from the tennis this week because I spent too long watching it. So I'll leave it at that. I'd just like Howard to say something. Thank you.
Just want to share with you a little realization I had during our trip to France. Actually, now on Friday we received a whole bunch of liberated ancestors, blessed ancestors. It was 378 generations, and we have just a last lot to bless, and then we should at least have done what they ask for now. I don't know if they'll come up more later on. As you know, we went to France to Paris, and I realized also already, what John was commenting on now, the way of living and how important it is to do things from heart, Because several times also now in Belgium stuff, and I've been trying to work with people, I've had experiences very directly when I really want to do something, when even shout at spirit world and God and really are impatient for things to happen, things happen immediately to actually to the degree that shocks me, And as I said, we had one person that one couple that we was teaching now. And 3 times in a row, I confronted spirit world and says, I want somebody to teach. And in the same hour, I met that person again and again and again, exactly on the same spot. So even he started to laugh at it, So it was very obvious that things went directly. But I had the same feeling in France when we were doing things there. Good weather, very hot, lots of people, lots of gray hair from first generation, and really start to realize you're getting old. And we had a very nice ceremony. And we went to the Cheonbo a couple of times, as you know, the program is. And the last time before we finished, when all the drums are going and whatever and so on, that you're finished basically with the session. Then suddenly, from my inner eye, I saw myself, and I saw from my body just like bubbles coming up, just like when the water starts to boil in the kettle. You see it come up from the whole body going like that, And I felt really good, and I said, something is happening here, And then at that time, a lot of rubbish thoughts came into my mind, and I know from my personal experience, I'm not alone in here, You're constantly bombarded. So I said straight out, why on earth are you bothering me with this kind of thing? And just address the spirit. And the answer came immediately. You don't get rid of me so easily, So I realized, one session or 2 sessions like this can help maybe the easily attached spirits to leave. Those that are not so bad. But those that are really giving you problems, you have to invest your heart. You really have to make an effort. So when John is talking about absolute faith, love, and obedience, that is really the foundation. Also, in a situation like this, you have to want it. You have really to center on what's going on and really want spirit world to help you, and the good part of spirit world to liberate you during this session. Because if you do it, nothing happens. You have to really want it from your heart, and I think that is the essence of what Father is talking about when he asked us this kind of way of living, that we start to really be conscious about what's happening inside and how we relate around. And then we realize, good gracious, how many things I still have to do. I'm 71 now. I said time's too short, to clear out the mess still, which is in myself and around me in relationships or whatever. So much more to do, So I can understand Father is worried about second generation, picking up the rubbish that we still have left behind. But I do agree with John about the value of this kind of thing, and I never had any problems with paying for the liberation and everything else. You hear sometimes comments about money and whatever. I think, if I can pay that indemnity, if I can offer something to God, to true parents, to Cheonbo through this, good gracious me, we have one chance in eternity to do this job. So why shouldn't we do it, And I'm sad sometimes. I feel that many blessed couples, families, don't really understand the value of community, because that's also where we should come together and support each other and pray for each other and develop this kind of attitude. So just my realization. Thank you.